afternoon, Quilt Roadies. How are you doing? I am like a busy bee in the beehive. Let me just say, I am doing laundry, I am finishing up stitching, I am packing and getting ready to go to the other side of the mountain for this Sisters Quilters Affair, sponsored by the Stitch and Post in Sisters, Oregon, and then the largest outdoor quilt show in the world, the Sisters Outdoor Quilt Show. For those of you who are unfamiliar with this event, let me just give you a little hint. 1,000+ quilts go up at 7 a.m. They start hanging them in the entire town of Sisters, and then they come down at 4 o'clock. You have one day to view quilts from all over the world. It is a bucket list event, one that you just want to have on that list and check it off. I'm just saying. Yes. Well, I'm getting ready to go over. It made me reflect on a little bit of history, my own personal history and relationship with the Sisters Outdoor Quilt Show. It goes back a few decades. This year is the 50th anniversary of the Sisters Outdoor Quilt Show, which is amazing because it started out when I first moved to Sisters, which was back in the late 80s, the population was like 800. Yeah, it was a little town, and but once a year in the summertime, second Saturday in July, was the quilt show. And Jean Wells, who owned the Stitching Post at the time, started that event as a way to not only encourage quilting, but to showcase her own quilting and her friends' quilting, and to support that little town. Because it was kind of a town that people passed through going over the mountain. And now her daughter is taking up the mantle of running that show along with her mom. So, history. I moved to Sisters back in the late 80s. And I was a mother, wife, nurse, worked at the hospital. At the time we moved to Sisters, I was the wage earner for the family. And I made friends with a group of nurses and doctors, all of which were kind of dabbling in quilting. I was not a seamstress by any means. And I remember sitting outside of a bookstore waiting for a poetry and book reading by someone I knew, a husband and wife who were giving it. And G and I were sitting in the car, and I was lamenting. I was whining. I was whatever. I was going, I have no hobby, no outlet, nothing that I'm like passionate about doing. I said, but I work with this nurse and doctor who are starting to quilt, and I'm wondering if that's something that I might enjoy. And he was like, yeah, go for it. Yeah, go for it, whatever makes one spouse happy. And so I signed up for a class at that time at BJ's Quilt Basket, it was called, in Bend, Oregon. And that was history. That was history. Because what happened after that was that this little band of nurses and doctors, we would get together at each other's house, and we would sew, and we'd take classes, and we would encourage each other. And then we started going on little mini retreats where we would all meet and rent a house and sew for like 4 days. Quilting not only is something that provides you with beauty and a craft that inspires you, but for us it was like a total outlet, and I have not looked back. So I would say that I have attended the Sisters Outdoor Quilt Show for over 30 years, and in several of those years I ended up being a teacher of a variety of different things, because if there's one thing that those of you who have been traveling this journey with me know, is that there isn't any one part of quilting that is all I do. No, I'm like the smorgasbord of quilting. Anything in a quilt shop, anything that is sold in a quilt shop, I will try. I'll want to do it. I have done basic piecing. I have done watercolor. I've done Hawaiian quilting. I have done wool stitching, embroidery, spargoing everything. Yeah, it's just, all of it is so inspiring, and I think it's the fabric. And I'm very, very excited to be heading over the mountain for this event for a week, because I know that the Stitch and Post, they always have the latest and the most beautiful fabric, and I'm looking forward to that being inspired again. So I've gotten 2 things that I've done this week. I was like pedal to the metal to get things done. Is I have put the label on my quilt that's in the show itself, and that's the Spoonflower quilt, and with French General fabric. You've seen it, and you will see it in the slideshow when I take pictures. The next video you see will be from the quilt show, which will be, please, all of you, send wishes to me that I can pull this off, because G will not be going with me, which means I'm in charge of the camera. Oh, yeah, well, it is what it is. He's giving me lessons later today. So I had to put a label on that quilt this week. And then I have a friend over on the other side of the mountain who does custom quilting, and she has always quilted like my Sue Spargo quilts, or anything that needed more detail-oriented quilting, and I have not sent a quilt to her in quite a while. So I called her up and I said, if I bring a quilt, and she does her pickups at the Quilt Basket, which is in Bend, Oregon, and they will have quilt show hours in Bend, but she picks up quilts that she's going to be quilting at that shop. So I'll be dropping my Sailboat quilt, the one that I showed you before, where I decided to do the hexies as the wind blowing across the sails of the boat. And so I was feverishly tacking those hexies down and getting them all ready, getting the backing prepped so that I'm ready to drop that off there on Monday for her to pick up and quilt for me. And then when I'm back down on the other side of the mountain in August, when I'm having my sister is arranging a cousins gathering in Bend in August, then I'll be able to pick it up then. And I can't wait to show you. I mean, and I know this drives her crazy, because, not my sister, Sandy the quilter, because she's going to call me up, because she is so meticulous. She's going to call me up and want to get my input on it. And I just trust her quilting and her artistic vision. I have no clue how this quilt is supposed to look or should look. All I know is that she will make it beautiful. So I can't wait till that's done in August to be able to show you. And when I go over to that side of the mountain, I lived there. I raised my kids there, so it's part of me is like reconnecting with all of those precious people in my history that I don't see on a daily basis, and I'm really looking forward to that. Okay, so what has been going on besides getting ready for the quilt show, which is a lot? It's a lot of decision making. I'm going to be gone for a week, and G's going to be here. You know, there's plants and fish. His fish is swimming around in the bowl downstairs. I don't think he would survive without him. I'm going to have a fun time. At the beginning of the week, I'm meeting up with girlfriends and my sister, who is in Bend for just a little vacation, and so it'll be fun to see her. And then on Wednesday, Monday night is the teacher's dinner, so that's where we all get to meet up. We're at Jean Wells's house in Sisters, and we all get to meet up and meet new teachers that maybe are new to the roster, or reconnect with teachers that we've taught in previous years a lot. I got a text today that Scott Hansen, who not only have I taught next to, I actually took a class with last year. He's already on his way down visiting a friend beforehand, and so now all these entities are coming together. And you might want to know, do I ever take a class? Yes, I do. If I'm off on a day where there's a class that I want to take, I sign up for it. This year, so many things filled up so fast. And I don't start working till, is it Wednesday or Thursday? I better check my time card. Anyhow, I signed up for, there was a class that was about glass fusing. It's actually at a glass art studio in Sisters. Of course, I'm like 1002 on the waiting list. Yeah, everybody wanted to give that thing a shot. But, so I didn't get into it, but, you know, the dream was still there, and maybe someday, yeah, someday. And I need some sister and friend time at the beginning of the week, so that'll be good for me not to have booked up every single day while I'm in Sisters. So what have I been doing? Well, you know, I got on the sweet people at Fat Quarter Shop had previously sent me a layer cake with, and you know, I'm a big fan of the Jolly Bar books on Fat Quarter Shop, and you really need to have the whole set. I'm not, you know, try to convince you, you know, I'm not a shoe sign, what is it, a scam artist or whatever. You really need to have all the Jolly Bar books. They are such a no-brainer quilt patterns in a really easy to follow format to make a quilt that's beautiful, especially if you you want to make a quilt for a graduation, a wedding, a baby, you know, and you just kind of want to flip through the book, because let me tell you, the Jolly Bar books, and I do have them all now, are in these spiral bound books that are the same size as the Jolly Bars that you can buy. So if you're not familiar with Jolly Bars, well, it's kind of funny because, you know, Kimberly Jolly, back quarter shop, yeah. Jolly Bars they're this size. They're a 5 by 10. 5 by 10 piece of fabric. So you get a whole pack. And the best part about a Jolly Bar is that you get a whole line. So if you want, you know, kind of like we did jelly rolls, because we just wanted to, my girlfriend Lori and I, we just wanted to taste the whole line. And so we'd buy like the charm pack, the 5-inch square charm pack, just to get the whole line. Well, this is one step up from that because it's a 5 by 10 piece of fabric, one from each of the whole line of the fabric. So you have this pack that is all color coordinated. So there's no decision making there. And then you have these simple quilts that are easy to put together that use the whole line. And just so you know, in August, there is a quilt along. I should call it a block along. From the Jolly Bar book, 5, I believe it's out of the Jolly Bar book 5. I have all the, yeah. But look at, in this particular one, there are 20 patterns in here. 20 Jolly Bar quilts in this one spiral bound book. So I broke out the Jolly Bar that I had, and I had bought some of the complementary fabrics, and I chose, let me see if I can find it real quick. I chose to make the Blissful Kisses quilt, which to me look like butterflies. You know, they're butterflies. And then I looked at the fabric that I had, the Jolly Bar fabric and the coordinating, because it tells you, like on this particular quilt, you need 1 Jolly Bar, and then how many of the complementary fabrics do you need. It tells you the background, how much you need, and all of that so that you have everything. And I decided to make all these butterflies. So I cut up all the fabric, and this is what I did. This is how I got these blocks almost done. I only have 5 more to sew. Is if I create an agenda for myself, it works. And that was that every time I came in the beehive and sat at the sewing machine, I would make 5 blocks. So I would sew 5 blocks of this Blissful Kisses quilt. And then the rest of the cutout pieces were there. And then in a day or two, whenever I came back in here and sat down at the sewing machine, I made 5 more. So that now I have like 20 blocks. Now they don't look that much right now because they're not made into a quilt, but look at that. I've got these cute little butterflies, and it wasn't stressful because I was only doing 5 blocks at a time. So I have 5 more to sew, and then I'm going to put the quilt together. Isn't that, this one's fun. This block is so fun. Yeah. Now here's the other thing. In my history, in my quilting history, I was known in my quilt group as the garbage diver. You know, because everyone who's at a quilt class has like a taped little bag where they put the trash in. the corners that they cut off and all of that stuff. Well, I collected all that. So like here's all the corners that I collected off of the cuttings of those blocks while I was doing them. And so they are perfectly matched. You can see right here. Here's the corner, and they are already perfectly matched. I made so many miniature quilts because I would dumpster dive my quilt group's baggie and pull out all of these, and they're so easy to sew together, and they're color coordinated, and then you just put the half square triangles in whatever arrangement you want, and you make this absolutely adorable miniature quilt. So you are going to be seeing a miniature quilt made out of this whole little pile of corners that I cut off to make those butterflies in a future episode. And because I made miniature quilts, I was actually featured in Miniature Quilt magazine when it was still in publication. I had, I wrote instructions on how I did that. It was so fun. I mean, quilting is so fun. It is just like a release. It's a release. So I want you to get ready, because in August there'll be a quilt along with the Jolly Bar book. So I thought, when I was talking to the Fat Quarter Shop, I thought, okay, I have to pick out a new Jolly Bar, because in reality, I don't know if you know this, but in reality, one always has to have a Jolly Bar ready to go when a Jolly Bar gets done. I think that is a code, a written code. And so I went on, because here I'm almost getting done with this Jolly Bar, and there's a Jolly Bar quilt along coming up, and I started looking for a new Jolly Bar. Well, I have to say, I had no idea there was a Christmas Jolly Bar book. I don't know why I didn't know that, but I did not know that. Yes, please, as fast as I could. A Jolly Bar Christmas book. I mean, this is, I love making Christmas quilts, but this is like perfection, because it can be small gifts. Heck, you can make one square and make a table topper, or make a table runner. Just make 3 of the squares and make a table runner. You don't have to. Nobody's the boss of you. But I then realized that I wanted to try a Christmas Jolly Bar. Well, there wasn't a Christmas Jolly Bar at the time I was looking. And then I said, wait a minute. A layer cake is actually 2 Jolly Bars. I know. It was like an aha moment. So then my Jolly Bar dream blew wide open. Because if you can't find a Jolly Bar that fits what you're feeling, you can look for a layer cake and cut it in half. And so I found this layer cake. I mean, look at all the fabrics in there. The different colors. Oh, that plaid is going to be so much fun. So Santa's Tree Farm is a layer cake that I'm cutting in half to pretend it's a Jolly Bar. Yeah, just saying, I'm feeling kind of smart. So that is when I get back home, I'm going to think about starting that, having that ready for a Christmas present or something. While shopping around for a Christmas layer cake or Jolly Bar, I saw this beautiful, beautiful French General. Yes, French General by Moda. Ruiner Toi means the third in the third collection. The third collection for French General. Ruiner Toi. And I picked up the, you know, you need like the background fabrics and stuff. And so I picked those up from the back order shop too. Because, yeah, never can go wrong with the French General. My dream is someday to go to down to French General and have some fun times. And this is this particular Ruiner Toi is the third collection of antique small prints. So antique floral small prints. So you can go on the Fat Quarter Shop and see that. Yeah. Yeah. So get ready for August when we have our Jolly Bar fun. So I'm trying to figure out, you know, I'm going to be, you know, it's really busy down the week of Quilter's Affair and the Sisters Outdoor Quilt Show. And so in the evening, you know, there's evening programs. Every evening there's some program going on. But you have to have some downtime because your brain's going 100 miles an hour. And so I decided what I was going to take. And I was not going to be taking a sewing machine or anything that I had to take a large amount of fabric for, since I wasn't able to take a class. So it's handwork. What handwork to take? Something that doesn't require a lot of thinking. And so I am taking this project, this adorable bag, taking this project that I got in Minnesota when I was visiting my friend Karen. She took me to this quilt shop called Sewing Seeds Quilt Company in New Ulm, Minnesota. And it was a pre-printed, oh, and see, this is how I do my sashiko thread. I braid it, I put it on a ring, and I braid it so that and then I tie it off the braid like if you were braiding your own long locks. And then you tie it off so that I can actually just pull the thread and it comes right out without any problems, no tangling, no knots. So I showed you this just a bit ago, and I've been making some progress on it because I take it to Pioneer Quilts for Woolly Wednesday, even though this is wool. But I fell in love with this when I went to visit one of Karen's friend's house, and she had this pillow. And it's a sashiko Halloween pillow, which I thought was hysterical. I just thought it was hysterical. And sashiko is one of those no-brainer, stress-free stitching projects. The only thing you have to know about sashiko is that the stitch length and the spaces in between the stitch length all have to be a rhythmic same size. That's the main thing. And that you use sashiko thread, which is a Egyptian cotton. But I just thought it was hysterical that this was a Halloween sashiko design. And I loved the pillow that was on her little, because we were there in October. So I'm going to make this for my bench, and it'll be a no-brainer project to take. So when I need to just wind down in the evening and relax, I will be working on this. Yes. And I do know that the last time I showed this, someone in the comments, I'll put the contact information for this shop, and they were able to get it, so, you know, it's still out there. It's still out there. And then the second project I'm going to take is another relaxing one, and that is The Good Life. You know how I love The Good Life. And it's the site is sewingthegoodlife.com, and it's this particular one. And it says it all. It says it all about quilting. And there are instructions on the half square triangles, which, if the blue ones were appropriate, well, let's see. Maybe it could be. I wouldn't even have to cut the fabric out. I could just sew these up, huh? Oh my gosh, is it really going to be that easy? Oh, something to think about. Anyway, I had started stitching. They come on a pre-printed, it's already printed on the sandcastle fabric. And because I had this so long, the printing started to fade. So I retraced over the printing with my Micron brown pen, and it's perfect. So I'm going to take that to work on. Yeah. So at least I'm going to have relaxing stitching during the evening when I'm free. Yeah. Oh. Yesterday, I received a photograph of my postcard, framed. I absolutely loved it. I absolutely loved it. So, Quilters Affair and the Stitching Post, they do a fundraiser in which anyone can send in fabric postcards. You know, it used to be that you could just use those actually in the mail, but now I don't know if I would do that. I would stick it in an envelope to mail it because I wouldn't want it to get all messed up. But they take all of the teachers' postcards and they frame them for auction. The rest of the postcards that were donated, they sell as a fundraiser for the music and the arts. And so I did a Hexie postcard and sent it in. And Myrna, who has framed, has done previous framing, she is awesome. It's like a whole nother art form. I fell in love with my postcard, so it's going to be really hard to not buy my postcard back, which is totally ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous. I mean, really, yeah. It's a donation though, right? But I wanted to show you postcards that I have gotten in the past. So this postcard, so I have just a little postcard show for you before we wrap up. I fell in love with this postcard because the person had cross-stitched a cactus and then made a postcard out of it. And then it was framed for auction. Look at that. So there it is, all framed. And there is the little cross-stitched cactus. And on the back, it says postcard art created by Irina from Krasnodar, Russia. She sent this from Russia, this card. She just sent the card and then it was framed. This is how far-reaching the Sisters Outdoor Quilt Show is. The world, we can make connections. We can create a better world. Quilters can do it. Quilters can do it. Yes. So I had to bid on that one because it came all the way from Russia. Yeah. And then this one was made by my friend John, the quilting grandfather. I just love it. I just love it. And so it was framed in this beautiful frame. I took it down to a framer. And that is an applique bear with a beehive and a bee. It's like one of my favorites. It's like one of my favorites. Yeah, so they're like little pieces of art. This one was stitched by my friend Scott Hansen, who is a fellow teacher at Quilter's Affair, and it's one of his. This is kind of funny. I bought the card because I didn't ever think I'd get in the class, and then a couple years later I finally got in the class. But isn't that great? One of his more popular patterns. He has so many popular patterns. And then he beaded it. There's a lot of beading. And there is buttonholes, hand buttonhole stitching and hand quilting on it. Yeah. Awesome. And this one here is by my friend Tony Phillips. It's one of her, I just loved her houses. Oh, let's see, I'm making a pile here. Isn't that beautiful? So it's out of, she made the house out of cotton and cotton fabrics, and then there's wool and wool stitching. I just love that. I just love that. And then the final one I wanted to show you, and I think I've showed it before, was my own postcard that I bought back in the auction. And it wasn't because of the postcard, because actually I made the postcard so I could make a second postcard. You know, what the heck? But it was because of the framing. I would never get that framing. And when I saw the frame, I was like, oh, I have got to have that. And it's out of wool, and I used, the base fabric was like a sheet of music. And so, and then when you look at how she cut the mat, okay. So yes, I agree, that is a very pretty postcard, if I do say so myself. And look at how she cut the mat. And the background fabric behind the heart is sheet music. But then look at the frame. It's sheet music. There was no opportunity for me to talk myself out of it. I wouldn't listen. I had to have it. I had to have it back. So pretty. If I do say so myself. And I do. Okay, so that's it. Wish me luck. I'm going to have a great time. I hope I see some of you. I especially hope I'm able to manage this camera and bring you back a halfway decent view of the quilt show without G being there. That's the real question. He's giving me lessons this afternoon. I hope I don't get detention. Yeah, there is that possibility. Anyhow, I hope I see some of you there. I'll be doing sit and stitch. Be running that little program later in the week. Lots of fun to be had. Hope our paths cross. And please stop and say hello to me if you see me. I'll have the camera in my hand going, oh no, oh no. Okay, take care, and I love you guys.